I arrived in Kenya with high hopes for democratic strengthening in the country. We worked hard on that from the time of my arrival through up until the 2007 elections. We worked hard to promote an open democratic process, and obviously I was disappointed by what happened in 2007. But on the other hand, I'm pleased at the way we were able to exert leadership in the post-election crisis to promote a political solution, and then to help craft the reform agenda to ensure that that crisis was turned into an opportunity.
You came here at a time, as you point out, when Kenya was going through a part of a democratic process, and you have watched the transition into a coalition government, which was one of the first ever in this country. Now, looking forward to next year, what are the expectations of the U.S. government?
Well, the coalition government, of course, was not a perfect solution, but it was the only solution in the view of most observers, and I think even of the Kenyan people at the time, that could resolve the post-election crisis and end further bloodshed and violence, which could have gone on for months had there not been a political solution. So it was critical. Now, going forward towards 2012, our expectation, our strong desire, and I think there's a good chance that the 2012 process can be a good process, the electoral process, if, but only if, the Constitution is implemented as fully as possible at that point. There are many things to be done before 2012 in order to ensure that the process, that the country does not suffer a repeat or worse of the crisis in 2008, because almost everyone agrees that if there's another crisis, it could well be worse than the one in 2008. And in order to ensure that the process is a good process, transparent elections, open elections, two things have to happen, I think. The Kenyan people have to speak out and have to be very clear to their leaders that, look, regardless of what party you are, we want you to work together to implement this Constitution so that there's a level playing field, so that there is going to be a fair electoral process. And secondly, Kenya's leaders have to step forward and stop talking about communities, stop talking about their narrow political interest, and focus on the fact that they should have the interest of the Kenyan nation first, and that they need to work together to implement this Constitution in a fair way.
The U.S. is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, yet it has strongly supported the ICC process in Kenya, did not support Kenya at the UN Security Council. Why this approach?
Well, why the approach? In one word, the need for accountability, the need to end the culture of impunity. And whether or not we're a signatory to the Rome Statute, the bottom line is this. In Kenya's entire history, no minister has ever been prosecuted or imprisoned for corruption, for support for violence or hate speech or anything else. There has to be accountability in order to, if there is accountability, it will help to reduce the chances of another crisis like this occurring in the future.
There are those who have accused you or who believe you had some excesses while you were here in Kenya. Do you have any regrets? Are there issues that you feel should perhaps have been handled rather differently?
Beatrice, I can honestly say no regrets whatsoever. And, you know, for the politicians who said I overstepped my bounds or whatever, my response to that is that's utter nonsense. You know, I did what I needed to do on behalf of my government to support a process of reform and change in Kenya. And you know what? To anyone listening, I will say this. I'll let the Kenyan people judge my performance.